When Lloyd and Javier arrive at the Frontera barony, the townspeople are frightened. Even the Baron and his wife felt fear when seeing a large number of orcs. The triumphant return to Frontera is met with unexpected guests, the debt collectors. Lloyd views their arrival as an opportunity and heads to negotiate with them, feeling grateful for the timely encounter. Lloyd enters the reception room where the Baron and the debt collectors await. The debt collectors present a deal where they want the rights to the mine in exchange for exempting the Baron from 3 months' interest. Lloyd proposes a partial repayment plan, which the debt collectors reject, insisting on their usual terms. Lloyd introduces Arash, an orc representative, and the leader of the Sand and Steel tribe, as his negotiating partner. Arash questions if the debt collectors are enemies of the Baron. Lloyd hints that refusing his proposal would make them enemies of the tribe, causing the debt collectors to tremble in fear. The loan sharks reluctantly agree to the proposal and then leave immediately. Lloyd plans to sell the treasures that he got from the orcs and then organizes the orc miners into groups and establishes a comprehensive mining system. Lloyd anticipates challenges, including the orc miners' massive appetites, and mentions a plan to turn an abandoned swamp into arable land using the vertical drain method. The Merit's wetlands, once deemed useless and undevelopable, becomes the focus of Lloyd's attention for agricultural expansion. He plans to drain and reclaim the swamp to support the growing population and the orc miners. Lloyd surveys the swamp using his skills, and after several days, devises a plan to reclaim the land. He creates a miniature model of the swamp and conducts an analog-style simulation to design an effective drainage system. Despite numerous failures, Lloyd persists and eventually succeeds, unlocking a new skill option in the process. After unlocking the simulation mode for his design skill, Lloyd is astonished by the newfound ability to manipulate terrain data in a virtual design space. Intrigued, he tests it on the Merit's wetlands, creating a detailed holographic representation. The simulation mode allows him to observe physical changes within the terrain, providing a unique advantage for his civil engineering tasks. Lloyd immerses himself in refining the reclamation plan for the Merit's wetlands using the simulation. After several days, Lloyd finalizes the plan, ready to move on to the next phase of reclaiming the swamp. Lloyd also summons a new fantasy species, Hamon, a water-drinking baby hippopotamus, to assist in the vertical drainage method for the project. Lloyd is pleasantly surprised by the unexpected abilities of Hamon. Despite initially thinking Hamon might not be as useful due to its smaller size and limited skill set, he decides to test its one-shot skill, which involves drinking water. To his astonishment, Hamon's ability causes a significant portion of the Merit's wetlands to be drained rapidly. The water disappears as Hamon grows into a massive water balloon, showcasing its unique and powerful skill. Lloyd, realizing the incredible potential of Hamon, decides to forego additional random draws and begins planning for the official start of the Merit's wetlands reclamation. Lloyd begins the transformation of Merit's wetlands into fertile fields, addressing the engineering core with essential instructions for the challenging construction ahead. Utilizing creative methods, such as Hamon's water-draining abilities and Podon's role in soil transportation, they successfully complete the first section of the embankment construction. As the project progresses, the once useless swamp turns into cultivable land. Lloyd's leadership earns him not just admiration but also a significant reward of RP from the residents of Baron Frontera's territory. The miraculous accomplishment sparks a newfound respect for Lloyd, turning the seemingly impossible task into a reality. Lloyd receives praise and RP rewards for the successful reclamation of Merit's wetlands. With a lot of RP in possession, he contemplates future investments but remains focused on the ongoing project. As autumn approaches, Lloyd recognizes the impending rainy season as a critical test for the embankments and drainage systems. The need for flawless drainage becomes paramount, and Lloyd plans to build water wheels based on the Dutch model. However, an unexpected visit from Viscount Lona, a neighboring lord, disrupts their plans. Viscount Lona asserts rights to the southern portion of Merit's wetlands, claiming responsibility as the lord of the land. Lloyd challenges these claims, initiating a legal scrutiny with sharp words and logical arguments. Viscount Lacona experiences a painful realization as Lloyd systematically dismantles his claim to the southern portion of Merritt's wetlands using the kingdom's land law. Lloyd exposes the flaw in Viscount Lacona's argument by highlighting the neglected state of the swamp and the legal requirements for reclaimed wasteland. Viscount Lacona, feeling defenseless, struggles to counter Lloyd's logical onslaught. As Lloyd cites specific articles and conditions, Viscount Lacona's confidence wavers. Lloyd's unexpected cultivation of onions in the reclaimed land becomes a trump card, meeting the legal requirement of crop harvesting. Despite Viscount Lacona's attempt to challenge the harvest, Lloyd's calculated response leaves him speechless. The confrontation ends with Viscount Lacona begrudgingly accepting defeat as Javier escorts him away, and the soldiers celebrate their victory in transforming the once murky wasteland. Lloyd, unperturbed, unveils the Merritt's reclamation incentive plan, signaling the beginning of a new development phase in barren Frontera's territory. Viscount Lacona, frustrated by the migration policy of the Frontera barony, directs his anger toward an administrator, demanding a repeat of the information about the migration policy. The policy, offering benefits for 3 years and obligating residents to settle for 5, fuels Viscount Lacona's anxiety. He recognizes the clever manipulation in the policy, aiming to exploit migrants for labor and transform Merez into fertile land. Determined not to relinquish the valuable reclaimed land, Viscount Lacona devises a plan involving dye workshops. A few days later, Lloyd wakes up with a headache. Not only did he experience it, but a lot of people from the estate as well. Lloyd observes similar symptoms in the mansion's staff and realizes that everyone is affected. Lloyd decides not to inform the Baron and Baroness yet, focusing on identifying the cause first. As he walks with Javier towards the center of the domain, they encounter people throughout the estate with furrowed brows, all experiencing throbbing headaches. Lloyd and Javier speak to a shepherd boy who confirms the widespread issue. Lloyd deduces that Viscount Lacona, who manages the southern territory, is responsible for releasing toxic berry fruit extract into the river, causing the headaches. Lloyd bursts into the Baron's office, surprising everyone with his knowledge of the threat. The Baron, facing the dilemma of surrendering half of Merritt's development land to Viscount Lacona, is taken aback by Lloyd's intervention. Lloyd boldly rejects the surrender and insults Viscount Lacona through the night. The knight becomes furious and challenges Lloyd into a duel. Lloyd happily accepts the duel and easily beats the knight using his shovel. As the knight leaves, Lloyd assures the Baron that everything will be all right and proposes a solution to the toxic waste issue. He suggests implementing a water supply system using distant water sources, and in the meantime, using the familiar Hammond to bring in water for temporary reservoirs. Lloyd requests the Baron to issue a proclamation to the people, explaining the situation and asking for their cooperation. Recognizing the need for a proper water supply system, Lloyd swiftly starts planning for the construction, starting with a land survey and proposing the ambitious idea of an aqueduct leading to Lake Kapua for a sustainable water source. Lloyd's ingenious construction methods and the villagers' enthusiastic participation set the stage for a transformative project in the Frontera territory. Lloyd personally directs the construction of a water bridge in a valley, showcasing the impressive coordination of the engineering corps. Javier leads the explosive blasting of rocks for the water bridge's foundation. Simultaneously, carpenters construct arch supports for the stone arch, while stonemasons and laborers build the aqueduct. After 2 months of intensive work, the water supply system is completed. The water flow is successfully initiated from Lake Kapua to the territory below, marking the completion of the ambitious project. The engineering corps celebrates the achievement, but Lloyd nonchalantly suggests collecting the construction fee, leaving Javier puzzled. Lloyd confronts Viscount Lacona in an unexpected turn of events. Lloyd hints at knowing about the Viscount's mental stress and suggests that he is desperate to resolve some problem. As the tension rises, Lloyd directly questions if Viscount Lacona's dye workshop is facing difficulties and hints that he might be responsible. Viscount Lacona confronts Lloyd about the issues with his dye workshop. Lloyd calmly admits to causing the problem indirectly through the construction of an aqueduct that altered the composition of the river water. the influx of limestone from the valley blasting changed the water's properties, affecting the dyeing process. Viscount Lona, devastated by the economic impact on his precious dye workshop, plans to sue but is met with Lloyd's thorough legal defense. Lloyd proposes a solution. Viscount Lona can use the water supply from Frontera territory to revive his dye workshops, but at a hefty monthly fee. Viscount Lona, realizing his options are limited, contemplates the proposal with a sense of defeat. Viscount Lona finds himself entangled in a twisted plot. The enigmatic Lloyd Frontera, with a sinister smile, reveals his elaborate plan to corner the Viscount. The roots of this scheme trace back to the public water supply construction, initially meant for the territory's development. However, Lloyd cleverly turns it into a weapon against the Viscount, seeking revenge for past transgressions. The contract proposed is not just for water supply, it's a strategic move to eliminate Frontera family debts. Having no other choice, the Viscount reluctantly signs the contract. Lloyd, having successfully returned from Lacona Viscounty, found himself in the midst of a modest celebration in his territory, marking the completion of the waterworks. Amid the festivities, the Baron delivered a piece of good news. Count Creo from the trading city of Creo expressed interest in purchasing all the treasures acquired from the Orc tribe. The Count's message, delivered through a neatly folded parchment, revealed his intention to buy the treasures. Lloyd, eager to exchange the treasures that he got from the Orcs for much-needed funds, welcomed the news. However, he couldn't help but wonder about the Count's motivations, as the second-hand treasures, with their minor scratches, seemed an unusual purchase for someone of the Count's status. The Baron speculated that the jewels might be used to adorn a large statue the Count planned to erect in Creo City. In return, Lloyd shared his success with the Baron, recounting his meeting with Viscount Lona about the water tax. Viscount Lona, previously a source of humiliation for the Baron, now signed a contract tearfully, providing a sense of sweet revenge. As a result, the Baron's spirits were lifted, and plans were made to settle debts and continue progress in the territory. Additionally, Lloyd received notifications of his significant achievement in implementing the water supply system, earning him a considerable amount of RP and enhancing his reputation as a builder. With the water supply system successfully reaching Lacona Viscounty, Lloyd embarked on his journey to the trading city of Creo, leaving behind a grateful and supportive community. Lloyd, accompanied by his group, arrives in the trading city of Creo and is awestruck by its size and bustling activity. The city, facing economic challenges due to the presence of Gigaton in its waters, plans to build a mermaid statue to ward off the creature. However, the difficult construction conditions have deterred contractors. Lloyd meets with Count Creo to discuss the proposal to issue a new maritime foundation construction contract for the statue. The reception room is filled with tension as Lloyd presents his solution with confidence, catching the Count's interest. Despite initial doubts, Count Creo agrees to the construction contract, impressed by Lloyd's assurance. The next day, preparations for the project begin with Lloyd personally surveying the seabed, enduring the cold sea. Despite doubts from his knight, Javier, Lloyd hints at using a magical material, cement, for the construction. As they discuss the feasibility of the project, Javier playfully enjoys seeing Lloyd struggle. At the dock, they met the daughter of the Count. Christine Creo was waiting for Lloyd Frontera with a love letter in hand. Lloyd, seeing the beautiful girl, is happy that someone is admiring him. However, the happiness didn't last. Christine thinks that the handsome and charming Javier is Lloyd Frontera and gives him the love letter instead. Javier takes the love letter like it was nothing. Lloyd was annoyed by Javier's behavior and confronted him. Javier receives love letters all the time, that's why he's already used to it. Unlike Lloyd, who has never received one. Meanwhile, Lloyd is determined to create the right cement for the construction project, faces challenges in experimenting with various mixtures. Despite his efforts, the desired results elude him, and frustration builds up. His hope for volcanic ash, a crucial component, remains unfulfilled. In the midst of his relentless experiments, Lloyd experiences physical strain, with bloodshot eyes and a nosebleed, reminiscent of his challenging past. Drawing on the resilience he developed during those times, he pushes forward, reminding himself not to give up. Finally, unexpectedly, a breakthrough occurs, and the solution to the cement problem comes to him. Lloyd, engrossed in his work on cement, is interrupted by the unexpected presence of Padang, Bangul, and Hamong, his fantasy creatures. The trio insists on playing, disrupting Lloyd's concentration. Despite his attempts to explain his busy state, the creatures persist. Lloyd, realizing their unusual behavior, discovers that they sense his need for a break and want to offer companionship. Moved by their concern, Lloyd agrees to take a walk with them. During the walk, memories of his past dog, Autumn, resurface, leading to a reflection on missed opportunities. Upon returning to the workshop, Lloyd receives a surprising message about the enhancement of his fantasy creature's communication level. Intrigued, he decides to invest 500 Rp in enhancing Bangul, resulting in the unexpected creation of a new skill called Volcanic Blast. Lloyd is both shocked and curious about the potential of this unforeseen development. Lloyd, intrigued by Bangul's new skill, Volcanic Blast, becomes concerned about its potential destructive impact. He decides to test it in a deserted area with Javier by his side. Lloyd is relieved to find that the skill creates real volcanic ash, a valuable resource for his cement production. Excited by this unexpected benefit, Lloyd quickly develops a plan to harness Bangul's skill for mass production. He constructs a giant diaper-like device, allowing Bangul to release the volcanic ash in a controlled manner, impressing the city residents, guards, and even Count Creo. The Count recognizes Lloyd and Javier's extraordinary talents and contemplates reporting their abilities to the king for the kingdom's benefit. Meanwhile, Lloyd's vision of creating an artificial landmass at sea takes a step closer to reality as the volcanic ash piles up. Lloyd oversees the construction of a caisson foundation for a giant mermaid statue in Creo Harbor. He meticulously ensures the accurate placement of the caisson to avoid any errors. After successfully sinking the caisson into the seabed, Lloyd orders the preparation of hundreds of mulberry tree piles for the next phase. Javier reluctantly joins the construction, using a massive hammer to drive the piles into the ground. The piles are tightly packed, forming a sturdy foundation. Bangul's volcanic ash is mixed with cement for the construction. The caisson's interior is filled, and the artificial foundation is completed. Lloyd strategically sets the foundation height above high tide level. The construction impresses the Count, who understands the deception of the statue floating in the sea. Lloyd awaits the completion of the mermaid statue by artists, using the downtime for rest. After a fortnight, the giant mermaid statue is unveiled in a grand completion ceremony, resembling the Statue of Liberty. Unbeknownst to them, a colossal monster lurks in the deep sea, observing the newly erected statue with a fierce gaze.